This banking system is on the edge of a collapse if interest rates start rising. And so what do we see? We see that the major central banks are beginning to raise interest rates. We've had it sort of started in America with tapering, and then tapering being sped up in lieu of interest rates. But I mean, that interest rates are going to be raised. They will have to be raised because the purchasing power of the dollar is going down. It needs to be stabilized at some stage. In the UK today, we had a 15 basis point rise in the lending rate. I mean, I don't know what planet these guys are on. I mean, the problem is far bigger than something that can be solved with a 15 basis point rise in the bank's lending rate. So all I can say is that there will come a time, and it's very, very shortly it will be upon us. There will come a time when markets begin to fear the consequences of rising interest rates and what it is likely to do to the banking system. And I would just add one sort of thought, which might give us a little clue on timing. I mean, China is not quite in the same position as all the other banks yet. They have got the collapse of Evergrande. They have got various other property developers. Share prices there definitely showing they're in trouble. One of the characteristics of a turnaround in the bank credit situation is when things start going wrong in the property market. I mean, we saw this with the Lehman crisis. I saw this back in 1973 when a raise in interest rates collapsed the whole property market in London. I remember shares in Town and City falling by 90% in a month. And that was a blue chip developer in London. It took out the secondary banking system, what we refer to as the secondary banking system, which basically were the specialist property lending banks. I mean, they all basically collapsed. That was very, very nasty at the time. And so, one of the things I do look for is what's the property lending situation? So we can see that in China, this is maybe sending us a bit of a signal, but it's not just property. I mean, if you go back to 2000, you had this sort of ramp up of the dot-coms, and then you had the collapse afterwards. And I think I'm right in saying that the S&P 500 lost a good 50% of its value in about 18 months. So that's the other thing. This time round, I think for all the banks other than China, we'll put that to one side, I think is the unwinding of speculative investment in financial assets. And if you want an example of just how crazy the whole thing has gone, just look at cryptocurrencies. I mean, there are thousands of them now, all vying for attention. Look at things like these non-fungible tokens. I mean, this is just pure speculation. It is the biggest level of speculation I think ever recorded in human history. So the collapsing of that bubble is not going to be a light-hearted affair. It's going to be extremely serious. The whole system, everyone has bought into this sort of Keynesian idea that, low cost of capital is good. It's not. I mean, capital is meant to be scarce. And if capital is, sort of freely available, then actually all that happens is you just get massive speculation and it builds until the bubble pops. It's really as simple as that. The key to the timing, I think, is very simple, and that is the interest rate situation. You see interest rates beginning to rise. What I would say is that it will start undermining the values of financial assets. I mean, obviously, if you get a rise in interest rates, bond yields will start rising along with it, which means that there will be portfolio losses on bonds. And also, sort of by comparison, the values of equities, which base themselves on the return from bonds, they will be undermined as well. And given the relative volatility between bonds and equities, the losses in equities could be quite serious, potentially serious. Then, of course, what happens is that when the banks start realizing that the tide has turned, what they start doing is they start liquidating the sort of collateral assets, which are mainly financial nowadays. I mean, okay, with mortgages, they've got title deeds in your home, but, basically, we're talking financial assets. And they will just sell these. I mean, if the situation is uncovered.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information. And it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
I have bad news for you. If you're not rich by now, you're screwed. And if you're in debt, you're even double screwed. How so, you might wonder? Well, the sad truth is that you're working your whole life to make someone else rich. The mega corporations, the banks, the politicians, everyone is getting richer. They get your money. And what is even worse, they get your time, they get your life. You are not even in a rat race. You're in a financial prison. But what could a solution for you look like? Honestly, I don't know, but I know what a solution for me would look like. It's very simple. I use whatever money I have and I multiply it with 1,000. This could make my life much easier and probably yours as well. If you have $1,000 available and multiply this with 1,000, I believe that this could solve some financial issue for the one or the other. Of course, if you're ugly, you would have to multiply it with much more than 1,000. My name is Alasdair, and this is what I decided to do. I decided to 1000x my money. This is not a joke. I know what you may be thinking. What is this guy talking about? How should this work? This is not possible. Well, I made a detailed video where I laid out my plan. And some clever folks might even want to look at this plan and copy it and do exactly what I do. This is just a little hint on the side. You have two options. You leave, you forget what you have seen. You do whatever you're doing and you hope that somehow you get some other results. Good luck with that. Or you click the link below the video. You enter your email address because I'm not showing this to everybody. You at least watch my video on how I plan to 1000x my money. The choice is yours. Make the right choice. Join me. See what a different future you could have. See at least how I plan to do the 1000x. So click on the link below, enter your email address, and I see you on the other side. Your Alasdair.